Without further ado, he represents the 99th District, and he's going to talk about a piece of legislation that is very important, not only to aerospace, but to Kentucky's economy as a whole. Representative Adkins.
Greg, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here today, and Senator Higdon and I served several years together in the Kentucky General Assembly, and I look across this crowd and I see a lot of familiar faces, and I see some folks that I've met over the last couple of days that really excites me about our future here at Morehead State University, the future in our region across this great Commonwealth. I don't know how many of you that I haven't met, but Greg introduced me a little bit and told who I was. I grew up in this small community about 28 miles from here in a little place called Sandy Hook, Kentucky, and came to school here at Morehead State University, got a couple of degrees from here. I did play basketball, played my last game in the Big Dance against Syracuse in 1983. What a way to go out. It was a good way to go out, especially after we upset Greg's team at Murray State University. That even made it better. And it wasn't an auditorium, it was Racer Arena, let me tell you. Racer Arena wasn't no auditorium. Let me tell you, it was a little old gym where you had trouble winning, but we got in there and got out with our life, so we felt very fortunate. I want to talk to you real quick. You've listened to a lot of talking today, and you eat some of the best fried chicken I think I've ever eaten. Show me somebody that doesn't like fried chicken, I'll show you somebody that doesn't have a pulse, I'll tell you. So I enjoyed that meal, and it was good to really sit down, not be driving, trying to keep ketchup off your white shirt and talk on the cell phone and all that. I know you're not supposed to do that, but we all do. So it was good to sit down and break bread with all of you. I tell you, I don't know how many of you were here yesterday, but to be very honest with you, it's one of the most exciting days that I've spent in my entire career in the Kentucky House of Representatives. The excitement and the energy that I saw yesterday was an exciting thing. And to see what is going on in what I believe is a new economy, especially for the region of Kentucky I'm from, that's been hit hard with job loss and the downturn in its major industry, the coal economy, to see maybe the possibility of a new economy and new jobs where people can make a good living and stay in our region, put a roof over their heads, an exciting thing for me. I started my 28th year in the Kentucky House this year. It seems hard to believe. It seems like yesterday, to be very honest, but I was actually elected to go to Frankfort on my 26th birthday, November the 4th. I'm the only member of my family to ever run for a political office, believe it or not. And when I ran for this office, I heard one of the speakers, I think the last speaker, talk about being in a competitive family. My father taught in the classroom for 39 years at Sandy Hook and Elliott County High School, finally retired after 50 years in public education. But he coached about 25 of those years, and he coached till I got ready to go into my freshman year of high school, and he said, I don't want to coach you, I want to watch you play. So I was raised in a very, very competitive family, and that came from my grandfather, who lived through the Great Depression, who understood what it was to almost starve to death. Was a man who was 75, 80 years old that wouldn't eat soup beans, and you know, most people love soup beans of his age and his generation. I love soup beans, to be very honest, but he wouldn't eat them, and I always asked Papa, I said, Papa, why don't you like soup beans? He said, let me tell you something. He said, if you eat soup beans 3 meals a day, and you had to eat them to keep from starving to death, he said, I'm not going to eat another soup bean the rest of my life. So to tell you from where he came from to where we are today, it's pretty amazing. But talking about competition, you know, being a former college athlete, my father coaching all those years, my grandfather who helped build this nation right on his back, his hard work of building the infrastructure, the roads and the bridges, and doing the things he done as a laborer to really build what we enjoy today, to be very honest. And grew up getting mud on his feet and dirt on his hands to get to where we are today, to have the potential to make a living in the way that we've talked about here over the last few days. My first election, I was 25, turned 26 when I was elected. The votes came in Elliott County, Sandy Hook, where I'm from, running against a very competitive person from down in Boyd County's general election. The votes came in, and I went to my papa, though, when I decided to run for this. And people in this crowd that heard me speak, they heard me tell this true story. I went to him first. And I said, Papa, I'm going to run for state representative. What do you think about that? He looked up at me real quick and he said, well, I think you're an idiot. But he said, if you're going to do that, he said, I want you to make me one commitment and one promise. And I said, what's that? He said, I don't want to catch you in my precinct. I'll handle this precinct. You go to Boyd County and Lawrence County and Round County, I'll handle this precinct. I said, I understand. Well, that night when they counted the votes, he handled his precinct. He handed out cards that day. That's when you could still really have an election and people would come and be on the grounds, which we ought to be doing today, to be very honest. I mean, why are we saying people can't be around the polls? You know, let's enjoy it again. Let's make it an event. Let's make it to where people really have, you know, a reason to go and visit with friends and be able to speak to them. And, you know, the ladies brought picnic baskets and, man, they hand out cards and they send trucks and everything to get voters and bring them into the polls. That's what my grandfather was doing that day. And when we counted the votes that night at home, I don't know about where you live, but at home, in the basement of the Elliott County Courthouse, before smoking bans, it was so thick that you could have cut it with a knife when we were waiting for the election returns. So Terry, they finally bring the election returns up. My grandfather's here at 83 years old, smoking a sawed-off Camel cigarette and black coffee, and just like this, shaking. My father over here. And they finally say, the clerk, precinct number 1, courthouse precinct. That's my grandfather's precinct. And you could hear a pin drop. 300 people in the basement of the courthouse. And they said, Rocky Adkins, 485. My opponent, 15. All of a sudden, this big, strong, 83-year-old elbow hits me, and he says, I wonder who them 15 idiots was. And I said, hush, Papa, be quiet. He said, they lied. He said, everybody come through here today said they were going to vote for you. Well, you want to talk about a competitive family. I was raised in a competitive family. Matter of fact, my grandfather passed away 2 years later. He was still trying to find them 15 people. So that's kind of where I come from, and to be with you all and to look at the excitement and the energy in this room today and to watch what we done yesterday in this community, from a road dedication yesterday morning to coming to a job announcement of a new company coming to our town with a different way of doing things, the innovation that comes with that. And you heard the owner of that company speak today, Raging Corporation, and all the possibilities that come with that. Man, that excites me. I mean, that gets chill bumps all over me when I think about the possibilities of that and the growth of that. And my quote in the paper today was, remember where you were yesterday when those 28 jobs grow to 1,000. And those 1,000 grow to 5,000. And then those 5,000 grow to 10,000 in our region of East Kentucky to put our people back to work in an economy that will sustain itself for generations to come. Well, let me just give you a little history about what I want to talk to you about real quick. A lot of what I see in this room, and a lot of you who are at different high schools, and those of you I met yesterday at the bill signings here, and to go from the job announcement to the bill signings yesterday and see this place called the Space Science Center full of young people. And to see these students that have come here from around the world to be students at the Space Science Center, one of 4 Space Science Center programs in the nation, and I think the best. To see that, and then to see the first class that is going to be enrolled at a academy called the Craft Academy for Excellence in Science and Mathematics, to see those first 60 students to be there at that bill signing, which allows the Craft Academy to issue diplomas. In the last session, when we got a fellow Eastern Kentuckian, an entrepreneur, who's in the coal business and other businesses, to come forth with a $4 billion gift. And then he challenged myself and the president of the Senate, Robert Stivers, to come with $2.3 million each year of the budget in the state budget to form now what is going to be the Craft Academy for Excellence in Science and Mathematics. To see those students And really the identity of the Craft Academy have its own identity to be wrapped around the Space Science Center, Ben, and then the Biology and Science Department at Morehead State University is one of the most exciting things I've ever been involved with, without question. So, a few years ago, 2005, there was a group in Morehead who approached me, a former vice president of Morehead State University, along with others, and this community forms a pretty good game plan. And we do our best to work that game plan, and it comes from this local community in this region, really the vision, and the creativity, and the innovation, and the ideas of how we can make this community a better place, which is a regional economic hub of a whole big area of this region. And to be able to make things happen from here that is going to be good for our entire region, our entire Commonwealth, is really a very positive thing. So this group came to me and they set me down, and you heard what Congressman Rogers said when they started talking about space science. And they started talking about all these things that were so innovative, things that I didn't understand. I still don't understand, to be very honest with you. I'm not going to kid you. I'm one of those people not afraid to ask stupid questions. Really, I'm not. Because the things that you all know are so much over my head, but just to be around your innovation, your creativity, your minds of thinking excites me. So when these folks approached me and they set me down and they said, we've been talking to Congressman Rogers, and we believe we can have the space science program here at Morehead State University. And I thought, what in the world are you talking about? A space science program at Morehead State University? Yeah, we believe the congressman may be going to get us a big satellite from NASA to come in here, but said, you know, if that thing's really going to work the way we want it to work, we need about a $16.5 million appropriation to build this place we're going to call the Space Science Center, where we can do all this work and do all these things and educate all of these kids in the new economy of Kentucky, and especially a place where I'm from, Eastern Kentucky. Now, folks, I'm an eagle from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet, a Morehead State University eagle. But I'm also an Eastern Kentuckian from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet, and I'm proud of it. So to be able to create a new economy, the ability to even think about what this place could do that we're talking about, I thought, my God, what are we doing? What exactly are we trying to get done? So after about an hour's meeting, it was in 2003, getting ready to go into the 2004 session, an opportunity came about to actually do some capital construction, capital investment at our universities across Kentucky. And when I was in that room, when we were carving up the pie, you know, the most innovative project I could think about was, we need to build a space science center, I told leadership at Morehead State University, and really create a new economy for our region. You should have seen the look I got from the rest of leadership, like, you fool, what are you talking about? Well, we got that appropriation of taxpayers' money to build this facility. So that was my first taste of space science. That was my first taste of aeronautics, and my first taste of really where this thing could go and what it could really do. But I knew being one of four was a pretty unique thing. And then all of a sudden I started getting phone calls from some of my constituents that said, Rocky, we don't know what's going on, so there's a spaceship that's landed up above campus, and we really think they're going to take campus over. Do you know what's going on? Well, you know what that was. That was the big satellite that came in. So we broke ground and we built this beautiful facility that I think has really carved out its own identity of where it can go in the future, what it can do in the future. So we cut the ribbon on this place. And I got to really see how great this place was, because the first discovery was made at the dedication of the Space Science Center. Now, I told you where I'm from. I'm from San Diego, Kentucky. A little small town, 28 miles from here, Route 32. It is the most curvy road in the United States of America. But let me tell you what, it's amazing what taxpayers' money to do. We're getting ready to straighten out that road. I'll tell you that right now. We are. We're getting ready to straighten out that road. So we came in and we dedicated this facility, and we're sitting in this movie theater. What's it called? Yeah, but what's it? A planetarium. Thank you. I appreciate that. So we're sitting in the planetarium, and the place is full, and we're enjoying seeing. We're going all the way into outer space. Earth disappears, and we're way out. All of a sudden, starts coming back in. Earth reappears, and all of a sudden, there's a big, deep voice comes over and says, "We have a special announcement. The first day of the opening, we have made a major discovery. The first discovery." And he said, "It is the known center of the universe." And we're going to make that announcement here today. And it kept coming, and it kept coming. And it said, our first discovery, our first big deal is we have located the center of the universe. And all of a sudden, you know what pops up? Sandy Hook, Kentucky. You know what? We didn't have to spend $16.5 million. We didn't have to bring in satellite for you all to tell me that. I already knew that. I already knew that. So that was my first taste. And then I watched this program progress. And I think it's been one of the best investments of taxpayers' money that I've had the opportunity to participate in. And we're only scratching the surface now of where we're going to go in the future, I believe. And then I was approached this last session, and we had a bill signing here yesterday of House Joint Resolution 100. And something came to my attention through my chief of staff, who's here today, Tom Dorman. And Tom Dorman came to me and he said, "Rocky, there's this exciting industry in Kentucky that nobody knows nothing about." And he said, "It's the leading export industry in the Commonwealth of Kentucky." And I said, "Well, Tom, the auto industry is the number one export industry in the Commonwealth of Kentucky." He said, "Oh no." He said, "Oh no." He said, "It is the aeronautics, aerospace industry that is the number one export industry in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It is the industry that is now exporting $7.8 billion in goods and products that are being made here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky." Man, that tweaked my interest. I said, "There's no way. I ain't no way." I said, "What are they making?" He said, "Oh, they're making the fan blades that go in jet engines. They're making the landing gears and things that go in the landing gear. They're doing all these things that we don't even know anything about." And I said, "Well, what are we going to do about it?" He said, "Well, there's this group of people, and many of them are in this room. Everybody from the Department of Defense, aviation industry, transportation department, economic development cabinet. There's people that have come together as a team to help us put this resolution together to really look at a whole lot of different things within the aviation industry." Let me talk about the first components of it. One is to look at the general aviation, the airports, to look at their efficiency, to see how they're servicing different regions, to look how they impact economic development. And we've mentioned the Round County Moorhead Regional Airport out here, how much it has been a attractor of industry to come and look at us. And of course, we dedicated a new road going into that. We earmarked. Listen to me, people. Earmark's not a bad word. No, listen to me. Don't listen to this talking heads on TV. I'm telling you, if you can take an ink pen and you can direct taxpayer money, you're not spending any more money. You're not printing it. You're spending what's within that budget, but you're directing that money where it needs to go to build a new road from a regional airport that don't have a road, to make this region more competitive in recruiting jobs and retaining the jobs we have. I believe that's what taxpayer money is all about, is investing back into our communities to make it a better place. So when somebody says, earmark to use, hold up just a minute. Or when you earmark money to build a Space Science Center, a $16.5 million appropriation to taxpayers' money, that was an earmark. We didn't spend any more money. We just directed the money where it needed to go, to put the parts of the puzzle together to make us a more competitive region and to give these young people a bright future. Now, if I'm wrong for doing that, then stand up and start throwing things at me now, but I'll debate you on every corner or any corner. That's a good investment of taxpayer money. So we built that road to that airport. We built that road through that industrial park. We used money to build a regional industrial park just down from that airport. And those are the things that I think you've got to invest in. We've got to invest in this university. We've got to invest in the bright minds that we've got to have an interest and helping us develop a new way, a new economy to create new jobs. So we're looking at general aviation. We're looking at curriculum in high schools in this aviation industry. That is in, I think, 28 of our high schools now, but I hear Jennifer Carter tell me that that's changing every day. That more and more schools are adding this curriculum for our young people to get interested in this field, this creative way of how we're going to communicate in the future and how we're going to create jobs in the future. With all the broadband that's going to be put in the ground and hung on lines over the next 5 to 10 years, can you imagine how we're going to be communicating in 5 to 10 years from now? If you'd have ever told me 10 years ago I'd be carrying this as my office in my pocket to communicate through emails and texts and doing all these things that we do, I'd have told you were a fool. No, you're crazy. 27 years ago when I went to the legislature, you know how people communicated with me? They either called me on the phone or they wrote a letter and put it in the mail. Guess what? They either Facebook me, they either Twitter me, they either email me, and they might call me if they're really upset with me to tell me what they really think about me. But now we don't anymore look people in the eye and tell them what we think about them. We use a fake name maybe to talk about them. When I grew up, you had to look somebody in the eye and say, hey, you're wrong. I guess what I'm trying to get at is this legislation is hopefully, through the curriculum we're going to talk about, through the study we're going to do of the impact of regional airports, as we look at the impact of economic development and how aviation impacts economic development, not just in the field you're studying in Space Center, not just in the field of what we talked about here today, but overall economic development. How does it impact it? And then the other part of this legislation, and I know there's more parts and there's more experts in this crowd that can talk about this much more in depth than I can. But the other part of this legislation that really excites me is the economic analysis study that's going to be done. And this thing's going to be paid for in a lot of different ways. The Department of Defense, the FAA, Economic Development Cabinet. We got some folks here from the Economic Development Cabinet. Get your checkbook out. You're getting ready to write a check. Transportation Cabinet here in Kentucky to help pay for this really in-depth study that needs to be done. But now I liked all that curriculum part. I'm a former teacher. I love curriculum. But unless you create an economy that needs that curriculum, we're heading down a dead road, a dead end. So if we're going to teach this curriculum, let's work over here on the other side to create the economy that needs it. So the other part of this bill is really the other part that intrigued me. And that is the economic development analysis to look at the advanced manufacturing of the aeronautics aerospace industry. And to learn that that is a $7.8 billion industry, grown some 40-some%, I think, from 2013. And the opportunity to grow that in the future, and to have the infrastructure that we have in place in Kentucky already, with those that are involved in aviation, like at Eastern Kentucky University. A place like Morehead State University that has the Space Science Center and the program that teaches it. And to have these brilliant students that are coming in at the college level from around the world. I met these folks that sit here in this crowd today from around the world. And they love Morehead, Kentucky. And they love the Space Science Center. And then we have people that are coming from close to home, that are mixing and blending. And then to be with all those bright minds that are going to be the first class at the Craft Academy, the first 60. And to look at their faces when you talk about space. And you talk about space science. And you talk about the potential of being able to wrap these schools around the Space Science Center. Man, that excites me. So, the other part of this legislation is to do that in-depth study. And to do that in-depth study in a way that will tell us that the infrastructure at the University of Kentucky, here at Morehead, Eastern, the other universities, the private sector that's working so hard, the innovators that are in this crowd today and yesterday, and last night at the Innovation Incubator, called an Innovation Center. It's an incubator. To be there last night and to mix and mingle with the potential folks are willing to invest to create jobs for the future. I don't know about you guys, but that excites me. Especially when you come from a region where I come from that has lost 8,000 coal mining jobs. People who have worked are honorable people who have worked in an honorable profession that's lost their jobs. And people only talk about those 8,000. Let me tell you something, folks. There's another 8 to 10,000 that's lost their job that's indirectly impacted by that industry. An industry that's been the backbone of our economy. An industry that has provided the fourth most low-cost energy in America here in Kentucky. That energy has been needed to build the industrial empire of the world that has created the strongest middle class in the world here in the United States of America. And that has been created through the industrial manufacturing sector. So, how do we diversify from that? How do we continue to fight for that industry and hope to build it back up? But how do we diversify from that in our region, and across Kentucky, but in our region, to make sure we don't have the peaks and valleys? To make sure we have the sustainable energy that will be there for generations to come? Well, I'll tell you why I've done this study. It's because I believe it's in this industry. I believe when you have the infrastructure where the workforce is being educated and trained, where the workforce is going to EKU or the Space Science Center or UK or whatever, when it's being done right in our region, and that seems to be where the interest is. I mean, this new company that announced yesterday didn't come here for the fun of it. They came here to create jobs and build their business, and they must have seen something that they liked because of what was going on at a curriculum place, an institution called the Space Science Center. So I happen to believe that if people are being trained and they're being educated in a certain place and you become known as the place where that innovation is happening, whether it be on the assembly line of advanced manufacturing, of making the pieces and parts in the aeronautics and aerospace industry, or whether it be developing these satellites that are going into outer space to find a cure for cancer. I'm a 20-year cancer survivor of March the 1st of this year. 20-year cancer survivor. What if we can send those medicines into outer space, and what if they react differently to that kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? There you go, microgravity. See, I'm about to learn these terminologies. I'm going to get them down next time. I figured one thing out. If you know the terminology, you're an expert. I figured that out a long time ago. So if we're training the workforce here, we're educating the workforce here, then in my opinion, we're going to be in a better competitive advantage to recruit that industry, to recruit those innovators to come here to our region to employ our people. So I'm excited about that. I think it's a bright future. It absolutely, yesterday, was all I could do to not get emotional. And people that know me and watch me speak, they know I get emotional sometimes. And you notice I don't have prepared remarks. If you ever see me with prepared remarks, come up and grab them as quick as you can. My communications director is here today, and she goes crazy because if I don't speak from my heart, I don't speak. I'm excited about what's going on here. I'm excited about the people that have come here to be a part of this. And for me to sit and listen to things that I really don't understand, and that gets about right here and it goes over my head. But to understand what can happen to really save the economy of our region by attracting the jobs of the future. And yesterday at the announcement, I labeled it the new economy for East Kentucky. And that's what I am hopeful to see. You will notice that our incentives, our economic development incentives that we have in Kentucky qualify for this kind of industry. They qualify for the industry we announced yesterday. And they will qualify for those industries from those people that do work for the Department of Defense, those people that do work for Boeing, those people that do work for Homeland Security, those companies that are creating the innovation and the technologies of the future to protect this country or whatever it may be in the medical field, let's do it here. You know why we need to do it here? Because we can. Because we can. And we can do it wrapped around the innovation, the creativity of these bright minds that are going to be trained here. And those of you that are here that want to invest, do so. We've got an incubator right up on the street here. We'll stick with you. We believe in you. Ask Raging Corporation whether we'll stick with you. We'll be there with you. You'll be a part of our family. We want you here. We want you to really spread throughout our region and help us rebuild the economy of this great Commonwealth and rebuild the economy, especially of a region of Kentucky that needs sustaining and diversification of economy in years to come. So I look forward to working with each of you over the weeks and months ahead. Yesterday we signed, as I said, 2 bills. We signed the House Joint Resolution 100. In your program, I'm supposed to talk about legislation that's going to become law. Well, this piece of legislation became law yesterday with the signature of the governor. So I think you can see we're serious about this business. And the people in the crowd who have helped me with this, thank you so much. And a lot of you are sitting there. I'll have your group to stand up so that we can recognize you guys in the crowd. Give them a big round of applause for their assistance. Right? When I didn't know the terminology, they were sitting there with me to help correct me, or if I got too far out, they kind of brought me back in. But I think we passed a solid piece of legislation. And I think it's going to show really and highlight what this industry is all about. To allow people to recognize this is the leading export industry in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. To understand it's a $7.8 billion industry, but what can it be in the future? What can we do in the advanced manufacturing sector to bring those kind of jobs here? This morning, let me tell you something, folks, I've had 2 good days. And people ask me what I do as a majority leader. And what I do as a majority leader when session's going on, I have to tell people no a whole lot. No, we can't pass your bill. I'm sorry. No, you got a physical impact on this bill, we can't pass it. I'm sorry. Or people out in the general public just don't understand why a piece of legislation can't make it through. It ain't ought to be that difficult, but it is. So people ask me all the time, what do you do as the majority leader? And the best way I can explain it to you, it's exactly what I've done in grade school, middle school, high school, and here at Morehead State University. I played one position my whole career, and that position was the point guard. And it's the point guard's responsibility to get the ball down the floor, number one. It's the point guard's responsibility to be the coach on the floor. It's the point guard's responsibility to control the tempo of the game. It's the point guard's responsibility to carry out the game plan of your team. That's what I do as the majority leader. That's my job. And I, even though represent Morehead State University and my legislative district in Eastern Kentucky, I'm not just the majority leader for that legislative district, I'm the majority leader for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And I've had tremendous help of fellow legislators understanding what we're trying to do here. And let me just give you why today has been a good day, not just being with you and listening to all of these bright minds that really excite me. I'm serious, folks. This excites me, the potential. But this morning I was in a meeting with Round County High School Superintendent. I was in a meeting with the new president of KCTCF, the Community Technical College System, at Round Tech here, which is under Maysville Community Technical College. Y'all may not know this in the crowd, but in the last session, 14th session, we appropriated $28 million, basically authorized $21 million, and the local community has to raise $7 to build basically what is going to be called, between Round Tech and between Morehead State University, this amazing advanced manufacturing center to train people in whatever the economy needs. Man, if you come here and invest and you say you're going to go up on one of these reclaimed mine sites where we've created a regional industrial park and you're going to build a facility that's going to employ 1,000 people to put the pieces and parts on whatever it is in this industry, guess what? We're going to be able to train them. We're going to be able to educate them. And we're going to be able to meet your needs. Well, I can't announce anything of what happened in that meeting this morning, but I'm smiling. And I can tell you that as we move through this process of getting this project done, it'll be built in the middle of our regional industrial park, 2 miles from our regional airport. And this will be this advanced technology center of 2 institutions that are coming together to help create the curriculum. You all are a part of that. At this magnificent advanced manufacturing center to train and advance our employees for the future. A highly skilled, a highly trained workforce. So when you put yesterday and put today, we're not done with this project I'm talking about now. We're not done yet. We've not put the final period on it. It's not done. We got to raise some local money, but that's a very exciting project. It could really have a big impact on the entire region of where you sit today. So I just want to let all of you know that I am excited about working with you in the future. I really think we've only started scratching the surface, Carol, of where we can go in the future. I am so excited that we have built in the infrastructure of training the workforce in the future in a new economy industry. For me it is. A new economy of industry that can be trained here, attract those industries to come here, and employ our people for the future. If I can help you in any way, don't hesitate to give me a call. If you have an idea, I'll be willing to listen to it if it's about improving our communities and our areas throughout this region and throughout Kentucky. We may need to tweak the incentives in the future to meet this industry a little bit better. I don't know that. We may need to, what's that button you hit on your computer, refresh? Is that what it's called? Refresh button? Really? That's what it's called, isn't it? Okay. You know, we may need to refresh those economic development incentives a little. I don't know. But it may be something we need to talk about because this is a new age economy. A new age economy that really excites me about the potential of the future. Thank you all for being in Moorhead, Kentucky. Thank you all for being in our region. For you young people out there, you students in high school, you students in college here, man, you have a bright future. You know, I hear people talk about, oh, we're in trouble. Oh, we're in trouble. Our young people are just not doing what they need to do. Oh, gosh, they're just not, don't have the work. Let me tell you something. I know our young people. I know what they can do. I watch them every day. And if you watch the innovation and the ideas and the creativity of our young people just from this program, I don't know about you all. I think we're in pretty good hands. How about you? Thank you all for having me.